So this is episode 5. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. But the next 4 episodes are going to be focusing on something specific.
Mm-hmm.
Another interesting topic. Last 4 episodes was talking about relationships, great relationships, and we had fun on that one. And thanks to everyone who's listened so far.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Yeah. Now, the next 4 episodes, we are going to be focusing on another topic. I don't know if it's a hot topic, or who knows, but it's a topic that recycles, right?
Mm-hmm.
In different shapes and forms.
Mm-hmm.
And next 4 episodes, we're going to be talking about the differences between guys and girls,
Mm-hmm.
men versus women. Um, but let's start with a brief introduction.
Into the total idea, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, what's the introduction again?
Ha. This is the difference between men and women.
Hey, now you are the genius. Now
But
you don't know
we've
comes up with the
spoken
topics
about
now.
this.
Oh yeah, what's the topic again?
Okay, so let's start with an introduction, right? And
Okay.
we said one of the things we wanted to address in this introduction really is how we want to do debates going forward,
Okay.
or how we think debates should be done,
Okay.
right? Because if there's one thing I've seen in our day and time is the polarization that topics cause.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody is always black and white. You're either pro this or pro this. You're
Yeah.
either this party or that party. You're either what do they call them? Patriarchy FC or feminist
Feminism FC.
coven, or there's always that divide,
Yeah.
right? And it's even beyond boys versus girl type of thing. And I don't know if an alien were to look at Twitter, it would be like, are these people teenagers, right? But and it's something that is a little worrisome.
Mm.
For me, the concern is, are you really saying that adults now, right? Because we're not kids. Are you really saying that there's no way that adults can actually have healthy debates?
Let me tell you something interesting.
Oh, yeah, tell me.
I'm sure you know this, that this current atmosphere of arguments, a lot of arguments, was actually, there's a part of it that was socially engineered by the social media companies. Did you know that? Did you know that like 10, 15 years ago, Twitter wasn't this bad? But then in order
10,
to
15 years ago, it wasn't
yeah,
this
10
bad.
years, yes, 10 years. 10, yes, it wasn't 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't this bad. But Twitter guys found out that they needed to, I think there's even a documentary on it.
Yeah, I've seen the
Yeah.
documentary.
So the Twitter guys wanted to get more engagement, wanted to get people staying longer on social media. So they began to engineer it in such a way that they made the algorithm to bring topics that they've noticed that you have passion for and all that. So what it did it continues to flood your face with topics that are important to you. And so as the more you see them, the more you are stirred up and the more emotional you get,
Yeah.
the deeper the conversations and the more you are engaged, the longer you stay. And the longer you stay, the more you have to say. And the more you have to say, yeah.
But my angle to this thing is, right, I think technology doesn't create. I think it just emphasizes.
Yeah, it can stress. Yeah, it can amplify stuff.
Do you
Yes.
understand?
But that amplification is an issue.
Definitely it's an issue, right? But if we look at time, if we walk through history since,
Yeah, definitely. Human beings have always loved
we've
to
always
argue,
had
yeah.
divides, right? And my question is, how have we always treated this divide? Are you really saying that throughout our history, now to present and to our future, it will never get to a point where we really stop shouting at each other and start talking to each other?
So, I think there's actually a way that we can have more meaningful conversations. It's something I've thought about too, and it's something I've also tried to personally adopt. So even my social media behavior has changed over the years. Yeah, it has.
Okay.
It might not upset you because of your own anti-social media spirit,
Let's not go there
but
now.
but it's actually better, and I
Okay.
get more meaningful conversations. There's a way to go about it actually.
Yeah, tell me now.
Okay, so the first thing I would say is we have to accept that first of all, people cannot see things the same way. There will
Okay.
always be differences in the way we see
Definitely.
because of our different perspectives and all that. And I actually believe that there is objective truth on some issues. There are some things that are the truth, as far as we can tell. There are some things that are objectively true. And there are some things that are not objectively true. There are some things that it's all a matter of perspective. There are some things that we can be sure of, and there are some things that is just a matter of perspective, right? So we need to know the difference between them. We need to know things that we can know for sure and the things that we cannot know for sure. And that is the reason why when it comes to topics of on things that we cannot know for sure, we have to have that space and respect for other people's views to see how much you can get from people's perspective and how much they can also get from your perspective to make each person stand richer and all that. And then there are some things that we can know for sure. And when we are dealing with that, when we're dealing with such topics of things that we can know for sure, right? And people differ, there's still a way to go about it that you can, have meaningful conversations with the person and get people to come and say what is objectively true over time. I do believe so.
Well, so what you said will be absolutely wonderful if everybody is thinking this way, right? My question really is, from what we've seen from time, like time past, trying to isolate places where there have been heavy debates, right? What have we always seen about human beings, especially when there are things they are passionate for, especially when, so you're dimensioning it against things that are objective truths, things that you can shift on, and how to approach those two issues. But people might not even think about it that deep. They might just be passionate about all of them.
Oh, right, I get you.
I think age is one of the things that makes things clearer, right? I don't know that old people debate this way, right? But young people are passionate about issues. And when you mix that passion with what the issues they want to do, like there's culture, there's standing for you. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that I have the answers. I just think I have an approach. Or let me put it this way. I just know that we can't continue going on like this. Like, it makes no sense. And it's something that I've always said. I hope I can articulate it well. Where at the end of the day, because data doesn't lie, right? When you find out that you're doing so much of a certain action and it's not yielding the results that the said action you're doing, you're claiming that you want it to yield, even if you want to keep deceiving yourself, people that watch will find themselves not pandering to that method anymore because they find out that it's really not doing much. So let me use an example. I think the generations that will come much after, I'm not even talking Gen Zs now. I think the generations that will come after Gen Zs will see how both millennials and Gen Zs took activism culture and the things they stood for and look at the results. By the results, I'm talking of the way the world will be in their day and time, and look at it and measure both of them up and like, you guys didn't, like, everybody was just shouting and talking about issues, but for them, real life didn't feel like it changed much, right? That doesn't take away the fact that people put a lot of effort into the things they did or that they felt really passionate. But what that tells me is that there is a better way to be able to, if what you're really trying to do, what I'm saying is, if there are ways, if what we are really looking for is to make a change, to move something from point A to point B, right? That's at least what we'll use to measure if it was effective or not. I think that by the time the future generations are coming, I hope they won't call our generation a generation that really was just
noisemakers.
Yes,
Noisemakers that were just arguing
trending
for nothing.
and always talking. And the other thing about it, I can't remember who I read a write-up once. Yeah, I can't remember what the person was saying, but it sounded something around how the fact that we do a lot of activism, especially online activism, kind of tricks our minds to thinking that we're really
doing something.
Yeah.
I read that too, about how that the dopamine and serotonin release that comes from winning arguments and talking about things makes you have the same satisfaction and sense of fulfillment as if you've actually done something. So at the end of the day, the society that argues the most and talks the most is actually the society that does the least. And the society that didn't have the opportunity of having a place to argue will now end up doing more, so to speak. And it makes sense, actually. I noticed it too, actually. I noticed it in a different way. My own experience was different. But I noticed that periods where you stay protracted on social media, the longer I stay, the shallower my thoughts become. I don't know how to explain it. My deepest thoughts come when I stay far away, when I don't talk too much
Yeah.
for a protracted period. That's where I get deeper thoughts. But periods when I stay for long on social media, my thoughts start getting shallow. I get more reactionary. And when that happens, I begin to know that, okay, it's time to slow down and stay away from social media. It's true, actually. Talking a lot actually makes you shallower, truly.
Yep. So to come back to what I want us to discuss really is just around how do we have healthy debates?
Okay. So
let's even first start. Do we really think it's something we can pull off? Right. By the time you put all the different moving parts together,
I think we can reduce it. We can reduce it. We can have more meaningful
but
debates.
before we get to the how, let's anchor something. Let's paint the picture of what it will look like for
A healthier debate.
a healthier debate. Let's paint
Healthier
the picture
disagreement. Okay.
of what it will look like, and then we can now think of how we'll get there.
Okay.
So what do you think that looks like?
First one is the first picture thing that comes to mind is that a healthier debating culture is one where people can differ and still have relationships.
I think so too. Very important.
It's very important. Yeah, if we can differ on some things and we can still have a relationship, then we can say that we have a healthier debating culture.
I think another thing I will add is if because we're not talking for just talking's sake, like we're not. I don't know. We're not talkativos. I think another point to put will be where there is actual change, right? Where something actually moves, where we get from, even if we don't get to point D, but at least we get from point A to point
B. We make some progress.
we make progress, right? If not, it will frustrate both parties. Yeah.
Another healthy debating culture is a culture where straw manning and other kind of fallacies like that. That means misrepresenting other people's points, slandering them, is minimized. A healthy debating culture is one where the exact points of all the sides are clearly understood by all the sides, and that is what is actually being addressed. Because that's another thing that you find very common. A lot of people are not actually addressing what someone is saying. They are addressing a misrepresentation of what someone is saying, and
So they've not really understood the topic.
Yes, and no,
before
this is even the
responding.
self-deceiving part. The self-deceiving part is that you are now winning an argument against the misrepresentation of someone's point.
So you win
and
the
you
argument.
feel like you are right.
No,
Of
but you
course
will
you will
win the
win.
argument.
That's exactly why it's called a straw man, because if it's a straw man, you will win. Do you understand? We actually have to have the culture of making a person's argument repeat. We have to ask ourselves, what exactly is this person saying? If you are talking, before we talk about how, I'm already getting into how we can do it, but really, what it should look like is a place where everybody's point is well understood and is actually being addressed.
Good. So we started from, we said understanding, we said progress, and then what was the first one again?
Relationship progress, having a good relationship.
Yes, and
progress,
then relationships don't spoil.
yeah,
So
and
now
then-
let's see, how do we now get to that point? How
Okay.
is it actually possible? Okay, so you said it's doable, like
It's to a large extent.
to a
Yes.
large extent. It is.
Yes. Yeah. It cannot be taken care of completely, but it's doable. We can make it better.
Okay. So how? What do you think would be ways to have healthy and
Okay. One of the first things that comes to mind is the fact that when you're talking to someone, you have to assume that the person knows something that you don't know.
Yep.
Our generation is actually a very proud one. Right?
I
It's
agree.
very recently. Pride is one of the 7 deadly sins, and it's one that is killing our generation. Our generation actually is a very proud one. Almost everybody assumes that they know more than others. That is the spirit of virtue signaling.
Read a book.
Read a book. And people that say you should read a book don't read books. And even when they read books, they don't read the book to understand.
Yeah, reading it to get the point they used to come and argue.
Yeah. In our generation, everybody assumes. I used to be like that, but that has changed. And that's why sometimes in the past that I've gotten into debates online and people now come to me after and say, Sam, you shouldn't have considered so easily. Like, you shouldn't have agreed to what she's saying and what that person is saying and everything. And when they say it, it's usually true, because I found out that I'm actually quick to agree with people. But that's not a sign of weakness on my part. It's not because of that. Is that I always want to assume that this person knows something that I don't know. It makes me want to listen to them, and it helps me not to misrepresent their points. And so what happens is that the instinct to assume that the reason why the person is saying what they are saying is because they are stupid or because they are immoral, it dies. If you assume that this person knows something I don't know,
Yeah.
if you assume that this person has something I don't have, and you actually listen, that instinct to want to just say they are saying what they are saying because they are stupid or because they are immoral or they have bad ethics or something. That's the reason why they're saying that. That thing dies, and then you can actually hear what they are saying. And there's nothing that frustrates people, and there's nothing that gets people emotional more than them feeling like as if they are not getting their point across.
Yeah.
You know what makes the debate get fiery and terrible and all that is the emotions.
Yep.
It's the emotions behind the logic. It's the way people are feeling.
Even down to, I think, down to people getting, there's a way. I like to say sometimes it's childish. Remember in secondary school, let's say you're arguing with someone and then someone will be hailing you at the back, like, hey, and then the other person will see another point and they will hail you, hey. and then I think that's one of the things about Twitter savagery that I don't like. Like maybe someone.
Facebook is terrible too.
Actually, Facebook is.
It's all social media.
Okay,
Reddit, all those places, they're terrible.
When someone says a statement and then the person responds emotionally as well, where you leave the statement the person is making, and then maybe you start abusing the person. It's like, Shebi, if your head wasn't so big, you would have been able to. It used to pain now. Somebody will now say something like that. By then, you have offset that, no, this one I want to fight. So the emotions, I think, is one of the things that makes everything so much worse.
Whoever the person is, the truth is that, and this thing I said is always true. Because you are born in a certain point at a certain time, at a certain point in time, in a certain place, there is no possibility, there is no way you could have seen all the angles of a particular matter. And even if by some kind of miracle of unusual wisdom and intellectual capacity, you are able to see all the angles, everything from all the angles, there's another issue. You cannot have the same emotional attachment or the same sense of emphasis for all the perspectives. Because it's possible for you to look at Nigeria and say, okay, I understand the northern perspective, I've seen the northern perspective, I've seen the northern minority perspective, I've seen this perspective, I've seen that perspective, I've seen that, I know all the perspectives. But you might not give the same attention or the same weight to all the perspectives as they should have.
You might not even have the same understanding. You might understand it from a head knowledge point of view. You won't have that experiential, emotional understanding of what the person. So you're not coming from the same place. So
it's all you have to. It's a truth. You have to assume that somebody the person you are speaking to knows something, sees something, is feeling something that you cannot. Yes. That you cannot feel, though you have not seen. You have to assume that. When you do that and you actually listen, right, the debate will not be so emotional.
Yeah.
It won't be so slanderous and all that, That's one.
Okay, I think for me, another very important part when addressing debates like this is to focus on the why, right? Why, whatever it is you're debating on, what are you trying to achieve? What's the why? If it's that you are trying to force the person to believe and understand your views, that's really kind of childish, because you know that you know how difficult it is for someone to force their own views on you. So why do you assume that you have some kind of psychic abilities to do that to another person? So you need to understand the why of what you're doing things. If you're trying to get the other person to at least have some understanding of where you're coming from, that's a better place to be at. If you're trying to get both of you to get to a common mutually beneficial place, that's another good thing. But you must always start from the why, right? Why the two of you are doing it. Because if all you want to do is just express yourself, and that's another thing, most times when people have debates like that, they're trying to express their frustration at that moment, right?
The why matters.
Why matters a lot.
Because if you're thinking of the why, there are some conversations that you find that may not be worth it.
Actually, at that point in time, you already know, and you could walk away, because you know that at the end of the day,
why am I having this conversation?
All you'd have ended up doing is, yes, all you'd have ended up doing is
emotional, get
and
angry.
Here is where I will now say that people's whys betray them at the end of the day. Another thing that I will now say is a reason, another thing that we need to fix is the what's the word? The fact that sounding like you know stuff, or sounding savage, or sounding is an in thing. Everybody is looking to say the next tweet that will go viral. Everybody's looking to give the next burn. Do you understand? So that also contributes to where people are coming from when they are coming to an issue to address it. again. And then another in thing is the I don't know, I keep forgetting the phrase moral uprising or
Virtue signaling.
virtue signaling, right? And politicians do this a lot. They're always quick to bring out some statement or something in reaction to a certain thing. It just waters down your words because you're just saying it to just tick some kind of, okay, me too, I want to have said what. And at the end of the day, you might have just said what you said and it doesn't mean anything.
This thing you just said now brings something to mind that I talked about a long time ago that I discovered that also helped me to change a bit. The need to humiliate people.
Yes.
That need needs to die.
And you know, that need to humiliate people is I'm humiliating the other person to make myself
Feel
look
superior.
some kind of
There's that
certain
need to
way.
humiliate people. Is that need to beat people into agreeing. But there's one thing I found out: it doesn't work.
It never works.
Do you know why?
I'm yet to see one person that said, "Oh, I now believe this because."
Yes, it doesn't work. Not even because it doesn't change people's minds and all that. It's because nobody will accept to be humiliated. Do you know one very funny thing? Entire nations' foreign policy, the entire drive of some nations, is based on the fact that they were once humiliated by some other countries and they don't want to ever be humiliated again. China, for example, became what they became because they did not want to ever be humiliated by the Japanese or by the West ever again. The entire foreign policy about Hong Kong, Taiwan is just so that the West does not humiliate them. There are a lot of what brought about Germany's entire behavior in the during the World War, early 20th century, and all those things because of the humiliation they went through in the First World War. This idea of you are trying to humiliate someone, you have to show a person that they are stupid, you're going to bring them down. You know what you're doing? You're causing more problems because that person will now go and use everything in their power not to be humiliated.
Yeah.
Not only that, they're going to do everything possible to. There's something very primal and instinctive about the need to not be humiliated that is deep inside us, such that
all your defensive mechanisms.
Even if you leave that argument
up.
now, you're going back to study, to research, so that you can come back with more.
So there's this meme of people, and that thing came out during that Will Smith period. The meme of some people after a fight, let's say after a burn, they now go back. And maybe their friends remind them of what they did.
And they're like,
they want to go back and fight.
Yeah.
Oh,
nobody wants to be humiliated.
Yeah,
so if you try to humiliate people, right, that you can be sure that discussion is not going to go forward. Do you know why? That person will now make it their life purpose not to agree with your points. If you tie people changing their mind on an opinion, if you tie it to their humiliation, they will never change their mind on that opinion. You have to separate humiliation from changing your mind. You have to enable people to still have their dignity when they are changing their minds. If you do that, I've noticed it works a lot. If you separate people's dignity from their ability to change from an opinion, and you enable people to still be able to change their opinion and still retain their dignity, you're going to have a lot more agreement because the person will still be dignified and still see your point.
It will even be easier for the person to come to whatever
understanding that you want. But you not tell the person that if you agree that this point is not true, it means that you are less than who you are. I will never agree.
No.
See, I will bring up every fallacy. I will bring up every emotional appeal. I will bring up every ad hominem. I will bring up every genetic fallacy in this world to just make sure that I am not humiliated.
Yeah. Okay, so I think those are good ways that we could debate because we are always going to not agree on issues. Like, I don't even think I'm looking forward to a world where everybody we are all unity, we are all reciting the same. No, we are always going to be different. People are always going to have different points of views. People are always going to have different. So we need to find a way to be able to work shit out.
There's one other thing that everyone occurred to me.
Yeah.
Which is very, very practical too. And that's the point of whenever you're talking to someone, make sure that the person understands your points. Make sure the person understands your points and you understand their points.
Yeah.
If it's possible, you can ask them, do you understand? I've noticed this thing happens a lot. Recently, I was talking to someone on social media and the person kept saying what I was not saying. I say, hold on. Do you understand what I'm saying? Can you repeat my point in 3 sentences? By the time the person summarized it, he was wrong. That was not my point. That's why you are repeating my one tweet with 10 tweets. You are responding to one tweet with 10 tweets. And you to do that, when you're talking to someone and I say, okay, to be sure that we are not just wasting our time, this is what I'm saying. Is that what you are saying?
Yeah.
Because there's this thing that happens when you are debating. the conversation evolves and it now becomes about something else other than where you started
You end
from.
up, as in, you
You
start
just
from,
it
from
evolves and then segues
Ikeja, you end
come
up in
and
Mushin and
red
you are-
herrings come, and then
no.
before you know
Yep.
it, you are not seeing what you started from. So it's always important to always keep conversations on topic. Ensure the person understands your point and ensure that you also understand the person's point. If you can do that, right, it will be easy to have more rational conversations.
Okay. So now bringing it home, because for the focus of the next series of episodes we are having is in difference between men versus women, right? So these debates of men versus women, like I think in recent times, they've always been very passionate debates. Why do you think so?
There's no reason not be passionate because there has been a lot of offense on both sides. And the offense always looms large in our minds, so to speak. And you know that thing that you're always saying, that social media has made it possible to co-share experiences where you experience things without actually experiencing them,
Yeah.
because someone on social media shared it, and then you are sharing you saw what someone experienced, person shares it, and then you get immersed in the
Into
person's
the person's
experience,
experience.
and then you now have a worldview based on that person's experience as if you yourself experienced. And that thing is a very human thing.
Yeah.
There's something very human in our experience. It's one of the ways that human beings are able to survive throughout this time, right? The ability to share our ability to have abstract thinking. In fact, the other animals even have it, where you can share your experiences with other people and people can use your experiences to also learn and then don't have to suffer what you're
Change
once
and
gone through.
improve.
So there's something very human about it. But social media has amplified that part of human existence, right? So and all the offense that has happened between men and women, right? Because the truth is that human beings will offend each other
Yeah.
for deliberate reasons and unintentional reasons. That offense looms large in our minds. That offense looms so large that it prevents us from seeing the main issue, the main points. And then we begin to form factions around the offense, not around the core issues.
Yeah.
And so because of that,
So
the
we're
conversation
fighting with each
is
other, not fighting against the
someone
issues.
is speaking and you are being triggered based on your PTSD.
Yeah.
You understand? There's some statements that this person makes. The statement is benign, but you are being triggered based on the pain and suffering that you have experienced in the past from the people or whatever represents that camp.
Yeah.
So the conversation will be emotional.
Yep.
There are only two sexes, male and female.
Why were you stuttering when you were saying it?
Because I didn't want to get into the political issue. It's so stressful nowadays thinking about this thing. It's too stressful.
Don't mind me, I'm pulling your legs.
I know. So there are only two sexes.
Yeah.
And so it's both sides that will be offending each other.
That was, for me, I think that was one of the major reasons, right? This same offense, I think, is part of the reason why we keep having these issues. And I think it's also the underlying reason why there's prejudice against many lines on the issue of race, on the issue of tribe, on the issue of socioeconomic class, right? When I experience some kind of issue, I have a problem with someone else, the first thing I do is I use the first physical thing I can use to separate the person, to say all men behave like this. If, for example, nearest future, let's say all of us now become the same skin tone, and you do something to me, next thing I'll say is all fat-nosed people behave like this. And
There are always reasons for sections.
there's always, and I think one of the reasons again is you've gone through things with men, you've gone through things with women, and you've been hot, right? And so the thing you just use that to label everyone else. Now, this is not in any way to diminish the kinds of experience people have gone through, but I'm just wondering why there's always that fight. Like, we're the only, for our species, I mix up the scientific terms, like we're the only ones, there's no other, Homo sapiens, at least at this particular point in time, we're the only ones that are occupying this earth at this particular point in time, and we are fighting each other so much. Like, make it make sense. We're not fighting each other on the basis of race, We're not fighting each other on the basis of gender. We're just fighting each other, and we just like, I don't know if we'll ever get to a point of world peace. I don't think we'll ever get to a point of world peace. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's part of the reason why that happens. But I think it's still necessary for us for peaceful coexistence, right? I can't burn your camp and think that the fire won't touch me. And you can't burn my camp and think that the fire won't touch you. Like, we don't have any other home.
Apart from that, disagreements are even important. We need to be able to talk to each other. One of the reasons is because the fact that we can't see each other's perspective means that there's always something that we're lacking. And it means that to cut out every difference of opinion is to shut ourselves off from benefits that we can have as a society. We must have meaningful conversations. If not, we will not survive. What I'm not seeing, someone has to tell me what I am not seeing so that I can factor it into the way I'm going to view the world. What that person is not seeing that I can see, I have to be able to bring it to the table so that we can all move forward as a people. It's important. There's no way around it. We have to have conversations.
Okay. So next episode, we're going to go deep into this conversation.
So we're going to apply this to the men-women thing.
Yes, we're going deep into it. So next episode, we're going to be answering the question, right? Is there a difference between men and women? And then we'll go deep into it.
Okay. So guys, after we posted the first episode, someone told me that what to say after is to tell them to like, subscribe, and share. So now I've learned that as I'm not a podcaster.
I'm happy for you.
So please like, share, right? What else? Like, share, subscribe with someone. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you at the next one.